Okay, this is Fall Haul Part 2, and this one was very specific. I'm kind of like crouching low right now, but this one is Coach specific, which I don't know if you see my channel or my page, but I love Coach, and I've been having the most fun time this year reconnecting with Coach and their bags. I got both into like the vintage side of Coach and also the modern side of Coach, and I love both. And this was the bag that kind of married both vintage and modern. So I don't know if you know, but Coach has been re-releasing some vintage models, especially the super popular models from their vintage collection. Their archives is what they call it. And I'm sure, as you know, part of like the more popular movement that like really brought Coach back into the limelight was their vintage Ergo collection. So this is one of them. And when I heard that Coach was making a reissue or re-release of the Ergo bag, this is the 9020 model in particular, I like ran to my Coach store and I had to see what colors they had available to just do a review and comparison, because earlier this year I went on this crazy journey of falling in love with vintage Coach bags, especially the Ergo collection, and basically collecting a little mini rainbow of my own. So today I'm going to go over both the newest reissue version that I picked up and also how it compares to the vintage counterpart. So without further ado, I'm going to pull out. This is the newest Coach Curve Zip. And I don't know why they didn't call it the Ergo. I should probably look online as to why, but this is the Ergo. Like, this is the Ergo 9020 reissued bag, but for some reason they're calling it the Curve Zip, which maybe they want to tie it in association with their also another vintage re-release is the Swing Zip bag. But it's super cool. It comes with 2 hang tags, and this is a very traditional Coach vintage print type of hang tag. And then the second one, which I love, is basically a kind of like love letter to the vintage style. So it says the Curve Zip Bag Limited Re-Edition 1997. And it's funny because if you ask my vintage Coach friends, the Coach 9020 model was actually not released in 1997. I think it was released earlier. So this is kind of a call out to Coach, and that they kind of got their own dates wrong. And of course I had to get it in the green, my all-time favorite color. And this green in particular is called Hunter Green, which I think this has been like the green of this fall winter season. So they've been releasing this green in multiple models, but I love it. It's like a muted kind of green. So it's honestly, the best part about this type of green is you can use as a neutral. So I'm gonna put it on now to show you how it looks like. So again, for some people this might be a small bag, but for me it works really well in carrying my day-to-day essentials. And it's super minimalistic. And of course it has a D-ring on the side, because nowadays it's super trendy to charm up your bag. So you can put your charms here or like rope it around. So this is the newest Curve Zip bag. Now here's the fun part. I'm going to compare it to the vintage edition, and I love that they basically didn't really make any modifications in releasing this. So I brought out 2 because they're both greens. And then here is a side-by-side. Here's the new one, here's the vintage one. You can tell from the leather, because it's older, it's developed a little bit more of a patina, or it just has more shine to it because of wear, and then it's more slouchy, of course. You can see right now this new one is still very structured and holds up on its own. These ones have a bit more of a slouch to it. Again, side-by-side comparison, it's basically identical, the new one, the vintage one. Size-wise, yeah, it's very comparable. Here are the straps. I would say looks like the new one is a little bit shorter, vintage one is a little bit longer, which for some people that could make a difference. Here are the sides. The vintage one does not have a D-ring, of course, and this vintage one is called Loden, which is a specific type of olive color that was produced in the 90s. And then here's the third green one that I want to show. This one's really cool. This one's called Leaf Green, and it's a more vibrant, lighter green. But here they are side by side to compare all 3, and you can tell, actually, now that I have it side by side, it seems like just the load-in is longer than the new one, and the new hunter green is actually the same length as the leaf green. So very comparable, almost identical. The size is really identical for sure. So I don't know, guys, should I keep the new one just to add to my collection of green Ergos? So again, the vintage collection version is called Ergo 9020, and then the new one is the curved zip. And again, very identical. I'll use the leaf to compare since they seem to be the same length. Here they are, and then I'll put it on right now just to model it for you. So this is how the new one looks like. Super cute. This is how the vintage one looks like. This is what it looks like on me. Just so you can see my shoulders better. And then I'll put on the loaded one too to compare. So yeah, I think Coach did a really smart move in re-releasing such a popular Ergo model. I can't wait to see what other colors the new one comes out in, because again, I'm addicted to these, so I might just have to collect a rainbow of the new ones too. But yeah, if you got the new one and the vintage one, let me know. Do you feel like there's a difference besides the leather? I will say the vintage leather is definitely softer, smushier, but again, I don't know if that's just due to wear. You know, over time, leather does develop a certain condition and softness to it. I don't know if the new leather will do the same thing. I think that's something that only time will tell. But yeah, the leather might be better in vintage because it's thicker and nicer quality, but I'd say the newer version is very comparable. And if you have a hard time finding the vintage ones, which I know it's been super competitive, I would say this is a great move on Coach to release newer ones so that more people can get them.